Today you're going to meet Sarah the suck-up. She's the one who always agrees with you in meetings. She always has a positive reinforcement comment to add in front of everybody in meetings. She always gives you really great feedback on how amazing you did in presentations or just in a particular thing with the team, even if you stuff it up. It's so nice to have someone on your team that's encouraging, positive, and making you feel like you're the best manager or leader ever, right? Well, not so fast. Do you actually believe suck up Sarah when she says all of those positive things? Every time she says, "That was the best meeting ever. You are so good at leading meetings. Wow, I wish I could be like that." Or, "I really love that idea of everybody working an extra hour tonight to make up for that lost productivity. That is so innovative of you." While it might seem flattering at first, having a suck up Sarah or yes men in your team, it can really smother new ideas and opinions. In my 17 years of leadership, including leading leaders, I have found it usually hides a more self-serving agenda as well. Suck up Sarah's self-promotion plan. So if you want to explore the development of Suck Up Sarah to get promoted and developed on our own merits, then let's continue. First off, let's just address the impact of Suck Up Sarah. While it's quite natural to appreciate the support and positive feedback and reinforcement that you might be getting from Sarah, surrounding yourself with yes individuals can start to feel like a bit of a cult. A high-performing team will actually challenge and drive innovation, which isn't really Suck Up Sarah's playing ground. I've had experience with Suck Up Sarah before, and at first, yes, I have to admit, it was a bit of an ego boost. Feeling like I was doing everything right and I was this inspiring leader. Particularly as leadership can get a bit lonely at times, which I also have a video on, which I'll link to here. So while it's an ego boost, it's not great for really challenging your own development as a leader. The other impact of Suck Up Sarah is the other individuals on the team. Most of us have experienced a Suck Up Sarah as a colleague, so someone in the team that you can blatantly see is just trying to suck up to the boss. And not many people really appreciate that kind of a behaviour in a team. If you don't deal with Suck Up Sarah, you start to look like you're endorsing her sycophantic behaviour, and that maybe that's how everyone has to get promoted. And you don't want to feed a breeding ground of yes people that aren't really going to drive your team forward. So in my own experience, after a few weeks of Suck Up Sarah, I started to question the genuineness of Sarah's responses to things that were happening. Particularly at one point where we had a pretty brutal meeting where someone actually walked out. And Sarah's response was, "Oh, that's the most cohesive the team has ever been. Great job." I was left looking at her, wondering, had she been in the meeting with me? Did she hear what was being said? And it really turned the blinkers off, and I started to question Suck Up Sarah for what was going on. So I sat down with Sarah the Suck Up and asked her to clarify for me exactly why she thought that meeting had gone well. She was a bit stumped, but quickly overcame it and did her usual puff piece of feedback, which was positively reinforcing everything that I had said and done. She was obviously pretty practiced at this kind of response, because I guess that's the foundation of Suck Up Sarah. And it was pretty good. However, I really pushed back and provided her with my own assessment of how the meeting had gone once she had finished. She obviously agreed with me and said, "Oh, this is why you are so good at your job. Even when it's bad, you really see it through and you bring a whole new perspective on things." Ugh. This is quite clever suck-up behaviour from Sarah. And really the only way I had to go at this point was to be far more direct. So before we get to that, just highlighting that step one is to sit Sarah down and ask her to clarify her behaviour. So see if you've got an example like I had where she's shown really positive reinforcement for something that you completely disagree with, even if it's your own behaviour or own actions that she is praising. It also can be useful to use her own ego to provide her feedback. So, for example, saying things like, I know that you've got really good clarity when it comes to these types of issues. I'm surprised that you're thinking that that was okay, as normally you're quite good at seeing through these types of situations. So as long as that's accurate, don't make it up. Just reinforce how she does normally behave that is good, that does bring something good, that highlights her own attributes, can be helpful to help her reframe it, particularly if she really wants that promotion. In my situation, Suck Up Sarah was pretty smart, so it was quite helpful when I was giving her feedback for me to say, look, I actually need constructive feedback, not an agreement of everything I'm doing. I really rely on you to be able to give me honest feedback so I can improve and develop too. And that idea of you learning from her, which is what you do with your team, you learn from them, but it does feed the ego a little bit and really helps her kind of see it from another perspective and alter how she is reacting and behaving to things. So the conversation that I had with Sarah was around really needing critical feedback from my team, and that I was going to start asking for a wider, diverse feedback and viewpoints so that we can move forward and actually grow as a team. And I set the expectation that I was going to continue to probe her on her opinions, to understand where she was coming from and her perspective, to help her grow more as a leader. I then moved into asking her about her own development. We'd had conversations about it before, but I wanted her to be really honest about it. And it did indeed come up that she really, really wanted a promotion. The good thing about Suck Up Sarah is that the desire to be promoted or to move into the next step is so high that she will usually actually be brutally honest about what her goal is, so that you can then work with her. This is where step 3 really came into play with Suck Up Sarah, where I talked about how if she was continuing to give me positive feedback all the time on all the things that she thought I was doing great, even when they probably weren't exactly accurate, it may look like she's not ready for promotion, because she might not be ready to give really critical feedback, which is an important part of being promoted. It's being genuine and honest and being able to talk through those difficult times and being able to have a little bit more of a challenging conversation. And I also said it could be perceived that she wasn't willing to allow her team the space to grow also, because if she was continually reinforcing my behaviour and my actions, then it would make it harder for them to speak up in situations and say an opposing view. She was outwardly very responsive to this conversation. However, I could see she was struggling a bit internally with the idea of having to completely reshape her ways of getting a promotion. Step 4 required continuing to follow up with Sarah and giving her constructive feedback, reinforcing where she'd given me really good opinions and views that maybe weren't just a complete agreement but were new ideas, and helping her work authentically on her desire to be promoted. I think showing investment in her development and actually helping her work on the path to be promoted was a success for Suck Up Sarah, and she did eventually end up moving on to something else. However, it wasn't the promotion that she was after. She was still just a little bit too eager to move into something more, and she ended up going sideways in a bit of a bid to try and change her reputation. So the idea was that she'd move into a different area and kind of rebuild her brand a little bit, because I think some of the damage had already been done with her colleagues and peers around the way that she was behaving previously. I have a video on rebuilding your reputation or building a leadership brand that I'll link to on the screen too, because a lot of those tips were tips that I used with Sarah. Just in case you need more advice on how to develop a Suck Up Sarah to reach her potential and contribute meaningfully. Good luck with Sarah, and thanks for watching.